Things getting recorded a lot.
The last one I saw in theaters was Us, you know?
Yeah, same here.
Not gonna lie, there was like a group of people right behind us that, just like you said, just kept talking, you know?
I got no problem shushing somebody. I'm like, shush! And then, like, last time, yeah, me and Victoria, I was like, babe, we're gonna move. And they were literally the seats behind us. I was like, babe, we're gonna move. She's like, okay. And then, she knows me. She knows, like, I'll be, like, dramatic. And she's like, and why are we moving? And I was like, because these people back here, they won't stop talking, so we're moving.
No.
And we got up, we moved. We sat down, and it was all quiet. It was really nice. But, like, you're not at home?
Yeah, I know.
It's like you're not watching Netflix.
I know. Yeah, you paid just as much money as they did, you know?
Man, you know. But, yeah. So, that was at Claremont Square, which is like a tiny little movie theater I used to work at. But, so when you go to movie theaters like The Lot, when it's like really, really, really nice, you know, they have those issues. So, I've been spoiled by
$30 for one ticket. They're not those issues.
Yeah, it was actually 16 for Endgame.
We're just still gonna go.
Hell yeah, yeah. Well, of course, I'm not gonna do the online thing. You know why?
Why?
Game of Thrones released on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people like tried to illegally download and just got their shit cleaned out by like, you know, fraud?
I don't know.
Scammers
I'm the 1%
and stuff like
that doesn't do a fuck about games.
I just started actually. I was just like you until 2 weeks ago.
Hey, when I posted that, I got a lot of love though. That was the most interaction I got on my personal
saying
Instagram.
that. You didn't know anything
Yeah,
about it.
it's saying me too. I'm like, all right, cool.
Let me tell you something. There's a great video by Samuel L. Jackson, and he does a whole recap of Game of Thrones up until this current season. So if you either missed the season, you have a life or a job, and some kids, you don't have time to watch. It's good. It's filled with.
Bleacher Report does the same thing with the playoffs. With the
with the basketball. You know, it's cool. Yeah, but like, Samuel Jackson does like this in-depth whole breakdown. It's cool because it got me up to speed. I felt like I don't even know. I don't have HBO. I'm like, I know what's going on.
Hey, we on episode 52. What's happening? Nothingtolosepodcast. I'm Tony.
Wait, seriously?
For the last minute.
I'm Joey.
And we're joined by.
Hey, this is Eric, man. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you.
I feel honored. I feel like I made it. I got invited to do a podcast. I'm the first one.
It's good. We got the first one before it blows up. Remember your roots.
I will.
Exclusive.
You heard it here first.
Listen, man. Today's been it's been an interesting day where I'm trying to just soak it all in between, like I said, you know, the article and just doing this. And I was talking with Victoria, and I was like, yo, is this what it's like for people like you who are like, you know, doing press and interviews? She's like, oh, you'll be fine. No, it's been good. It's really great to be here, man.
Yeah.
Glad to have you. So, for the listeners that have not clicked the link in the bio, do not know it, squat about Backtrack or anything.
Yeah.
Who is Eric?
Man, I feel like I need a shirt that just says link in bio.
Me too.
No.
The last 52 episodes.
Yeah, man, no, but, I'm Eric Brown Jr., man. I was born here in San Diego. Well, my dad was in the Navy. When I was a baby, my dad was getting out of the Navy. He moved me, my older sister, and my mom back to where he's from, which is in Northeast Ohio, a place called Warren, Ohio. Really, 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 really small town. Mostly known for sports athletes, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And I spent a good chunk of my childhood there. Man, that bike was loud. I spent a good chunk of my childhood there. When my parents split up when I was about 6, and then we lived there for a little bit longer. When I was 12, my mom said, you know what? I'm divorced. I don't want to be in Ohio anymore because it's snowing. You know, she moved me and my sister back here to San Diego. I went like the last couple of years of middle school and my first 2 years of high school here. And then I actually finished up my last 2 years in high school back in Warren, Ohio, Northeast Ohio.
Oh, why is that?
So at the time, I was like young, 16-year-old dude, and I thought I had, you know, all the answers to everything. And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go live with Dad. You know, I'm tired of being here. And yeah, man, it was crazy, man. I called my dad and told him that's where I wanted to go, and he booked me a plane ticket, and I flew out. And I thought it was gonna be all sunshine and rainbows with my dad. I'm like, oh, Dad's cool. You know, let me do whatever I want. Man, I got there. They put me straight to work on like projects for the business and stuff for like around the house. And, I felt like I had a full-time job, except I wasn't getting paid for anything, you know. And so then I graduated from high school out there. Went to Kent State University for one semester. I was bored out of my mind. Let me tell you, like I went to college for design work because I had taught myself Photoshop and a little bit of design work just on my own through YouTube while I was in high school. And I was in multimedia in high school.
YouTube Academy. YouTube University.
Yeah, way before that, it was like the era of YouTube before ads. And like, if you can remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What were those videos? Like salad fingers and shoes. And...
Creepy. Yeah, like, that's why, so I have friends and, they're like, yo, is this girl too young for me? And I'm like, yo, here's all you need to know. Does she remember ads on YouTube? If the answer is no, man, she's probably too young for you, bro. No, but then so I taught myself design work there. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Kent State. They actually have one of the best programs for design in the country. The program's called Visual Communication Design. And what I came to find out while I was there was, man, like once I had to do it for like a grade, and I was like forced to do design work. I kind of yeah, man, like, and I think that was like, like young excuse of me being like, the passion's gone, whatever, but,
Do you feel like you have all the answers though? Or like, when you got in time, you're like, all right.
Oh, no, man, absolutely not. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, for me, again, it's just my opinion, but, we had to do things by hand, so when we're doing design work, when you see a magazine cover today, that was all thrown together digitally. But when you see a design cover from, let's say, Sports Illustrated from 72, it's got some cool artwork. Well, that was put together by hand. Like a photo was taken and it was cut out with like scissors and it was placed and stacked and stacked and stacked, and then it was photographed again, and there might have been hand. So they really taught us to build your design work from hand with a pencil and like.
I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't know that old cartoons like Looney Tunes, stuff like that, was literally drawn frame to frame to frame. So like one episode or one little clip of Looney Tunes could have been thousands of drawings, you know? And people don't appreciate that.
They don't.
CGI.
Those paper books, I remember when they used to do it.
Even like old episodes like South Park, that was construction paper.
Yeah, that was construction paper, cut and placed.
Now they all encourage they do it all digitally, but like, so I do think there was value in learning, where that came from.
I agree.
Whether you're in design, whether you're in music, whether you're in, whatever it may be, you should always learn the roots. But for me, I was just like, oh, I'm bored. So I was like, I think I'm going to just join the military. My dad was in the Navy, and I was like, it was always something that I wanted to do.
Did you join the Navy too, or did you choose another branch?
No, I joined the Navy. So I was actually fourth generation Navy. So my great-grandfather was in, my grandfather was in, and my dad was in, and then me. And
holy crap. So your great-grandfather, what wars did he serve in?
So he actually didn't serve in any wars. He wasn't drafted, he was enlisted. So he chose to go. He didn't really have many options. But still at that point in time, for blacks, all he could be in the military, in the Navy at the time, was a cook. So he was a cook. My grandfather was kind of a knucklehead. He wasn't drafted either. He enlisted. And from the story, how it was told to me, was my grandfather actually got kicked out of the Navy for just craziness. My grandfather used to tell me these crazy stories that he used to hitchhike home to see my grandmother on weekends from boot camp. like legit. Like, you can't do that.
No.
And then
Uber.
Apparently, Apparently, the final straw for him was there's something in the Navy called missing ship's movement, and that's when the ship is scheduled to leave, and you as a sailor, you're not on the ship. And if you miss, the time, it's like a really, really, really big deal. Anyway, some crazy story. He was picked up by the Spanish Navy, and then the Spanish Navy had him in custody because they were an ally, and then they actually came out to sea, and they put him in this basket, and they shuttled him across. They put him in this basket. They shuttled him across. From ship to ship, and then when he got on the ship, put him in the brig, obviously. But then when they got back to the U.S., they're like, "Hey, man, have a good one."
So he was just discharged like that.
Oh yeah. But and then my dad served 24 years, really, really long career. And then then me. I was the funniest story is I was the first one to never go out to sea. So I was never stationed on a ship. It's kind of funny just being a sailor.
In the Navy and not
Yeah, man. Because my job was so I was a master at arms, which is a fancy way to say a policeman, law enforcement. But I was a canine handler, so I trained police dogs.
Oh,
in the
no
Navy.
way! That's awesome.
Yeah.
Why'd you stop doing that?
Well, when I got out of the Navy, I knew I didn't want to be like a lifer. I knew I didn't want to do 20 years in the military. I wanted to serve because of what it meant to me from my, my family serving. Also was like, look, if I ever do decide to go back to college, it'll be nice to have that money, use my GI Bill, and give me the options, So for me, the return on investment for my time was like, this works out for me. Not only going to pay for my school, but then I'm gonna get housing allowance. Yeah, this works out. So, but being a dog handler, it's kind of really rough on your body. We're training. Not only are there bomb and drug sniffing dogs, but all of the dogs, at least during that time, were also trained for attack dogs.
Yeah.
So we're training attack dogs, and again.
Did you ever wear the bodysuit and get
every day
wrecked by a dog?
Every day.
Damn, you were that guy.
I mean, we all so you all train your dogs.
Hey, could we trade?
Hey, that's not what I signed up for.
It's your turn, bro.
No, but when you're in the military and you're working a dog, you have a kennel, and so it's every dog handler has one dog. And you have to train each other's dogs. So I would never have my dog bite me in the suit because that just doesn't make sense, right?
That doesn't make sense.
So if you were a handler, you would be in the suit and you would be working my dog. We'd be working on different things and things like that. And so you're always in the suit every day training somebody else's dog, trying to level them up and get them better.
Got it. So you guys all are the bait for each other's dogs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just the sidebar, because this really interests me.
Yeah.
What happens when you train a dog? Because obviously they listen to you, you are alpha.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just tell the dog, hey, that guy's alpha now, and then the dog listens to that guy, or are they just on cues?
You mean when what do you mean?
So
I have a dog.
You were hypothetically, if I was to have a dog, no, so you were a trainer, right? And you would get these dogs and then you would make them into working dogs.
Well, yeah. So I was a dog handler, but we're training every single day, and so yeah. Let me back up. So I'm a police officer, but I also have a dog with me to help me do my job.
Awesome. I think everybody should.
But with that, there's so much of your job is training. I mean, I probably spent 80% of my day training either my dog or other people's dogs, and probably about 20% of my day actually doing law enforcement work, which is nice. I'm not sitting around writing tickets all day. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy that they call when there's either a scare or unintended bag, or we've got somebody who's got a temper. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no. To your question, when you're training, what's tough in the military is unlike in the civilian world. You don't get your dog and you have that dog forever.
Right.
The military looks at the canines as equipment.
Yeah.
So they're specific to the base. So sailors and airmen and soldiers and Marines, they all move. So when you move and you're a dog handler, you say goodbye to that dog and you get a new dog.
It sucks, man.
And the best dog teams are the dog teams that have good relationships built, and that takes time. And so if you have time to put in, that means spending all day with your dog and building a relationship for months before you even give it a command to even sit.
Right.
Because how would you feel if you just met somebody
and they started telling you what to
do? You'd be like, oh,
yeah.
And so, but when you're talking about a job as serious as law enforcement, that dog that dog may be the reason why you get to go home.
Right.
And so you really have to have a good relationship.
That's your right hand.
That sounds like the best job in the military so far, though.
Until you have to say goodbye.
Yeah.
That would hurt.
Who's your favorite dog ever?
So I worked 2 dogs during the course of my career. My first dog was Pharaoh, and he was a drug detection dog and patrol, so attack dog. And then my second dog was Pedo. Pharaoh was like a big teddy bear, man. I loved everybody. He was one of the best drug sniffing dogs, but he would also just be like, hey. Especially if a girl came in the room, he was, he knew, if a female would come in the room, he would just go straight to me, hey, what's up? And he was awesome. When he retired, I was able to actually adopt him, and I had him for his last few remaining years before he passed away.
What?
Yeah.
I just pulled off. Oh, that's fine.
Well,
that's awesome.
So you can actually go on right now. The Air Force, that department, they control all of the military working dogs in all of the armed service branches. You go onto their website. I can't remember the URL, but if you just Google it, it'll pop up. When dogs retire from the military, when dogs retire from the military, you can actually just go on and see what dogs they have available. But when dogs retire, we always give priority to their prior handlers. So like, you'd be like, hey, your dog's retiring, are you able to adopt him? Most of the time it's like, yeah, that is my partner. If not, then they try to get it to another handler, because some of these dogs, are, again, a patrol dog, and you just don't want to give them to somebody who, has no dog training or dog working experience, because the training starts when they're 1, and some of these dogs are 10 when they retire. They've done nothing for the last decade except
work,
So when they hear certain words or they see certain things and they, get back into that mode of like, are we working?
I can only imagine if I took one of those dogs home and then I'm like cooking in the kitchen, like cutting celery, and then they see a knife and I just get just taken out, Like,
I mean,
not taking them to a park and then seeing other people around and how they interact.
Man, that's how
suspect packages or something like.
Yeah, and then Pito was my second dog, and he was an amazing dog. I mean, this dog loved to work. He'd work with it if it was a robot holding a leash. But he did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he found multiple buried IEDs, and he was just a badass, man. And but when I got out, it was because like I didn't want to make the military.
Do you know what happened to Pito?
Pito actually died. He actually got cancer like a year after I got out of the Navy. He actually died like a year after Pharaoh died, my first dog.
God damn, what a rough couple of years for you.
Yeah, no, it was rough. Pharaoh died on my birthday.
What?
It was like, long story short, on my birthday back in like 2015 or something like that, 2015, he had been sick for the past few days and he began to bloat. And I was like, we gotta go to the vet. Met the vet, and it was just, we could do a surgery that could possibly make him more comfortable, but long story short, he was gonna die. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not gonna make this dog suffer anymore. But I got him. He's sitting on the shelf at the apartment.
Oh, okay. Wait. Was he cremated or stuffed?
I got him just taxidermy. I got him cremated. So yeah, he's with me, man. But man. So I got out the Navy, man.
4 years, 5 years.
I did 4.
So, Navy, all that stuff, right? That is kind of complete opposite to what you are known for now.
Yeah, man.
So, let's just get into that. Tell us about Backtrack.
Yeah. So, Backtrack Vintage is the kind of the new company that I just kind of started. At least for the past year and a half, I've been selling vintage clothes, but that kind of came out of a love for selling weird and old things when I was active duty in the Navy. I spent the bulk of my career in Seattle, and to pass the time, like I would go to estate sales and thrift shops and spot meets, and I pick stuff, and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. I wonder if I can make some money on that. Whether it be old clothes or
a globe or
like just weird stuff, old film cameras. Yeah. And so while I was there, it was funny enough. I don't know if you guys know a song by a rapper called Macklemore, Thrift Shop. That kind of like happened while I was stationed there, but like, I mean,
so that was your intro? You watched
no, it's like, catchy, corny song, but like people like the thrift.
99 cents.
The thrift scene in Seattle, like you could get some stuff at least 8 years ago for like really cheap. Yeah. But it was just always like this hobby of mine, and I just do it, and I have fun, And so fast forward to me living back here in San Diego, I was going to college for full time, but to pass the time, I started going to, Kobe swap meet here, and I was checking out, clothes, and again, garage selling, or estate sales, going to estate sales in La Jolla and Del Mar, and I think one of the reasons I love being a cop was because with my job, especially being a dog handler, when you could get a warrant, I just got to be a professional nosy person. I just got to be, and so, like when I pull up to an estate sale and you go in and like, yeah, just, feel free to walk about the house. You know, I'm like,
don't mind if I do.
You know, I'm like trying to see how the other half is living. But then like, sometimes I feel bad because usually what happens with an estate sale is that some old person passed away, and the kids are like, you know, we're trying to sell. But I'm in there and I'm just like a savage. I'm like, all right, what can I find in here like to flip real quick? And then you know, so that's what I was doing. And
wait. What was your biggest flip?
Oh man, I mean, like as far as like profit.
Okay, your biggest profit, and then also the coolest item you've ever found.
The item that you wanted to keep for yourself.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I think that's one of the toughest things about being in the vintage game is like being like,
any reseller.
Can I sell this, or I really want to keep this? One of the coolest things I've ever found and flipped and for the biggest profit, it was in Seattle. I found an old animal control sheriff badge from like I don't know what county it is, but it was city of Dallas, and it was from like on the back was etched really tiny. It was like 1954, something crazy like that, like legit like iconic stereotypical sheriff badge, star with a circle around, and like. And I used to find like old police badges, and I used to sell them on eBay. They go for like big money. I bought that thing for $350, and I just like, let me just put it on eBay for like $200 and just see what happens. Somebody offered me like $1.75 for it, and I instantly took it. Like,
yep.
And if you like look like when you sell something like that, you get that big flip. You get like such a dopamine hit. But you know, that's when you're like looking for stuff. But I got into clothes. You know, as far as like vintage clothes, funny enough, I started working at Urban Outfitters just to bring in like extra money during the holidays. Yo,
what happened? You done?
Listen, man, I kind of consider
do
myself.
we want to go?
Kind of consider myself a jack of all trades, master at none. I'm kind of like decent enough at a lot of things that like I can like be helpful.
Yeah.
But when I was working at Urban Outfitters, I used to work at the one downtown in Gaslamp. And kind of one of the trends that was happening was, you know, obviously vintage clothes have kind of been on the rise.
Right.
But Urban Outfitters would get clothes. They would get clothes, and it would be like a Nirvana tee, like a reprint from like the early 90s. But obviously, like it wasn't vintage. They would wash it 80 times, so it looks real faded, but they would have 50 SKUs of them in every size run. And me, like, I would initially see them like, oh, that's dope. But then, like, I'm, you know, on phones, so I'm like, oh, this is lame. Like, they just, like, licensed this, or, like, old Grateful Dead shirts. And for me, like, when I was like, well, these shirts have to exist. So then I started looking around San Diego and, like, Southern California. I was like, yo, I'm finding, like, original stuff from, like, when the band was on tour in, like, 96, you know? And that kind of catapulted me into just selling vintage. So probably, again, like, for a year and a half, I just kind of been building out my inventory because I knew at some point I wanted to do a store. And how the bus came about was back in January, I had been looking for a storefront. I live in PB, and I grew up in Claremont, one town over, and so I just love the beach. It's like one of my favorite areas. And one of the things that's tough is like real estate here in San Diego. Like, you guys know.
Yeah, that's awful.
You're like, you gotta pay rent, and you're like,
everyone rents, nobody owns.
did I, like, you making life decisions trying to pay rent? Like, did I eat today?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, it's real. So I'm like, okay, like, for what I want to do, you know, like the collection I want to curate, you know, it's going to be really small. So I'm just looking for like a boutique.
Right.
And I found a couple of places that I'm like, this is perfect. And I'd reach out to the landlord, and like the landlord would be like, you know, send us over 6 months bank statements. I'm like, well, like, okay, like, we're brand new. Like, this is my business plan. They'd be like, nah, I don't want to take a chance. Found a place in Little Italy that was perfect. James Coffee down there has this dope space where they've got like a bunch of, and I've been trying to get a space in there for like 3 years, and so I just so happened to go in there. The space was empty, and I reached out, finally got in touch with somebody, and they're like, you know, space is already spoken for, but we'll keep you in touch. I'm like, yeah, okay. They did like some like artist pop up for like a couple of them. I'm like, oh, great, that's cool, you know.
That was definitely worth their time.
Yeah. Other landlords I reach out to, they send me an email. I send them over the stuff they asked for. They just ghost me. So I'm like, man, like, I'm for real striking out. And I'm like, yo, like, I wonder. I think I saw a food truck roll by me or something, and it reminded me that like mobile stores existed in other places. But I couldn't recall seeing any here in San Diego. I was like, maybe I could do like a mobile store. And I know, you know, at least from the research that I've done, the mobile store world was kind of been dominated by women, and I was like, I don't know any guys who got a mobile store, but I was like, okay, this might work if I can get the bus for cheap and I can do the work for cheap, and if I can make this happen, I was like, this might be the way to go. So I started the Craigslist quest for looking for
a bus.
I was looking for an RV at first. The bus was like just stroke of luck.
Have you gone to the North Park one? You sold there, but also there.
Oh, the SD Vintage Flea Market.
Yeah. I think it's switching right there. Domino's here. But there in that SD Vintage Market, there's a trailer.
Oh,
did you see that
you know what?
trailer?
I have seen that, and I sold at that event, the last event that they had a couple of months ago, and that really kind of gave me the confidence to go full steam ahead with selling vintage, because in 6 hours I did something like $1,200 in sales, and I was like, yo, I just had stuff out. Like, what if I really, really, really tried?
Let me ask you though, because like vintage clothing is awesome, right? The thing is, a lot of people like that's like not their bag, you know. So, I guess my question: why would you like pigeonhole yourself to something so specific?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you're right. Like for me, I love fashion kind of as a whole, right?
So you'll go where the trend goes.
Well, not even that, but like for me, like I guess where I focus on is like a vintage tee. Like if I could throw like a vintage tee with like some new kicks, I'm like living my best life. But when it comes to business, I do believe that there's riches and niches, and I think if you try to reach everybody, you end up reaching nobody.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, let me focus on older items, more skewed towards men. And I was like, let me just live there. Let me do that better than everybody else. Not saying that I'm better than anybody, but like, let me put my best foot forward trying to build out this, and let the market decide.
Okay, well, let's say that Backtrack is a hit, you make, bucks, and then everybody is like, oh, like, we want you to lease our spot. You get a storefront. And now you got to get more merch to fill those shelves, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to stick with like the vintage era clothing, or are you thinking about expanding maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like, I definitely want to cross that bridge when we get there. It's for any business.
It's a good problem to have.
Exactly. And for me, like right now, I've got a lot of inventory to the point where, Victoria, who you guys had on here a few months ago.
How's your apartment? Because she has all the shoes. Now you have all the vintage. Like, you guys even walk to it?
Between Nike boxes. You walk in now and it's like bins of vintage. I got racks of vintage. But it's all stuff that's going in the store for when we launch on April 28th in PB. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's sitting there, and I'm just like, yo, like, it's going to come out of the living room. I promise.
Is there, like, something I missed?
You didn't read the article.
I just read the article literally.
Man, April 28th, we have our launching event. I brought you guys some flyers, too. With some.
Oh, we're definitely going to get those out. But, especially in North Park. People love vintage around here.
Yo, absolutely. I kill it in North Park. But, Vintage Threads and Grails, they're a vintage store in PB, and Steven over there, him and his girl, they kill it, and they've got a really big storefront there. But probably for the past 6 months, they've been doing this vintage bazaar. So like every quarter, they have like 10 vintage sellers in their back lot. They got a huge back parking lot, and they have like food and drinks and like beer. It's a good time. It's kind of like the SD Vintage Flea, just down by the water. And so I'll be selling at that. But that's going to be like our official like launching day. It's going to be a thing.
Oh, that's what you meant. Okay, yeah. You were telling me about that earlier. Okay.
Oh, you thought I was doing a storefront?
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah.
I was like, did I miss something somewhere? Like,
Yeah,
did you say
email
that?
real quick.
Yeah, I was like, did you just check your phone and you just got approved?
No, but your original question was like, what are you going to do if we're killing it? It would be dope to be at that point, But there's a couple of boutiques here in San Diego that have done it. There's some awesome ladies that run a store called Stroll. It's in Little Italy. It's actually right across the street from James Coffee. 4 or 5 years ago, they started as a mobile boutique, and now they're in a storefront and they're killing it. And so I think that's definitely the goal. I don't think I want to be in a school bus forever, but this was kind of like my way of like saying like, at least I can control how I want to start. Right. And if I can build enough buzz, if I can create a cool enough shopping experience, like, have you ever shopped inside a school bus?
No,
So I was like, that's gonna be dope. And if I make it dope on the inside, it'll be like, you won't care about the price. You'll care more about the experience.
The ambiance.
Yo.
So, I'm just gonna ask a really dumb question right now.
Yeah.
So how do you get sales? Like, do you find events, park the van, and then unload, or do you drive around like Ice Cream Man with like a song going on?
Yeah.
At $4 a buck, he's not gonna be doing that.
No, okay, it's a great question. So for us, on our schedule, on our Instagram, you can check out our schedule at some events that we're going to actually be at for the beginning part of summer. But so we essentially just pay a vendor fee at some of these events, and then we'll post up shop there. But literally, instead of us setting up, you know, a 10 by 10 tent and racks,
walking in.
you know, that's kind of the beauty of it. Like my setup time is like literally like 10 minutes. I put stuff on hangers and racks, make sure stuff is steamed, and like call it a day. And I literally open the bus doors like, hey y'all, come in. And you know, that's my store. And not, you know, shopping at you know, flea markets is dope, but like switch it up, like, oh, like this, you can come inside and shop.
Yeah. You
like,
actually have a store.
It's an experience.
You know,
Everyone wants that experience.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
so I figured, you know, give them a dope shopping experience, and then, you know, brand it right, and, you know, let it happen. I feel like I already know that my product is good because, you know, for the past couple of events that I've sold that, the market has responded well. I said, so now I pair that with a cool experience that doesn't really exist here in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, like, I'm just gonna try my best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the listeners out there, and Joey, how much was the bus?
Yeah. So I got the.
I did ask earlier.
Yo, I got the bus. I paid $2,000 for this school bus. What's funny was I wasn't even looking at the one that I got. I looked all over. I had been inside some real sketchy RVs, like Breaking Bad RVs, bro. Like, yo, like not had a warm and fuzzy about the RVs. And one night I'm just scrolling I'm scrolling Craigslist at like 2 in the morning, and I saw this posting for a bus that was like listed for like $3,000 in Ramona. It was yellow. It was 23 feet, which is still a short bus. I was like, am I gonna drive out to Ramona just to go look at this bus?
To hate it.
Yeah, like, or like, you know what I'm saying? But like, I at that point I was feeling like I was running out of options, and I was like, well, you know, if you go out to Ramona and it sucks, find some thrift stores on Ramona, and at least you can thrift on the way back. Like, I hit every thrift store on the way back. So I was like, cool. So I drive out there to this ranch, bro. This property was so big. It was like a compound from like, you know, like The Walking Dead. This was the longest driveway I drove up to. I'm in my little car. I'm like, yo, this is. They buzzed me in.
You have arrived.
They buzzed you in?
They buzzed me in.
Okay.
They, like, from their long gate. I'm telling you, this is like a football field and a half. It was the gate from the house. I'm driving up, I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And I pull up, and they got this huge, big industrial garage that would like fit a plane or like, you know, a semi truck. I get out, and this nice old like man with like an accent comes out, and he goes,
What accent?
well, they were from. I found out they were from Switzerland.
Oh.
So like, if you can, I'm not even attempt a Swiss accent, but if you can imagine that, well, that's what it was. And he was super cool. We wobble over to, you know, the bus. Well, he had this crazy like lip, and I was like, oh man, like, is this?
So you said walking like him to make him feel comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to like make him feel bad. I was walking on normal. He was like
You
limping.
guys were in stride.
Got to deal with his face.
Yeah. So okay, so like we go, and I'm looking at the bus, and like the bus was bigger in person than I thought. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, yep, there's the bus. And he goes, yep, that's the one. I was like, yo, man, I hate to say this, but I was like, this one might be too big. And he goes, oh, well, I got a smaller one. I was like, oh, you do? He's like, yeah, it's around the corner. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, follow me. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Turned on Find My Friends. I was like,
I was just thinking that. Man.
Sorry.
let my phone ping off my cell phone tower. And I'm like, because I went back into cop mode. I'm like, what does he have?
Oh, just follow me down this hallway. Yeah.
We come around. We're still outside. We come around the back of this garage, and this little gray bus is sitting there, all cute. And I was like, "Oh, this would be perfect." And he's like, "I thought you might like this." And then I go, and he opens up the back, and it's filthy. And on the side it says Carlsbad School District Maintenance Department, and it's gray. It used to be yellow underneath. And again, I opened up the inside, and it's just covered in crap. But I was like, this is like the perfect size. I hop in, my head, I got clearance, and you know, there's 4 windows down one side, 4 windows on the other side. And then he's like, also, the reason why you're gonna love this bus, because it's a 1994 diesel which means you don't have to get as smogged in California. And I was like, bingo!
Oh, he was just laying it on you. He was laying it. What a great salesman to provide you with like the crap first to get you down, and then you'll take anything after that.
Yeah,
just,
I'm eating up, and I haven't even heard it start up yet. I was like, I said, yo, does it start? And he's like, it might need some new batteries. I was like, all right, you start it up, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna see how much I really got it done. He starts it up, then his wife comes out and met her. She's super nice too, and it was real smoky because they had been sitting. They bought it at auction from Carlsbad School District, and it kind of sat. They bought these short buses because they were going to turn them into little schoolies, little RVs, and they were going to flip them and sell them. Cool. Apparently, told me this crazy story. He fell off a roof and got hurt, and he wasn't working on them.
The wobble.
That's where the wobble came from. I said, you guys connected dots. I said, that makes sense. And so the bus starts up. It's real smoky. It was like a Michael Jackson music video, but it fires up. I'm like, yo, this is cool. And so they shut the bus off, and so like, well, what do you think? I'm like, I really want to. My uncle owns a auto shop in Curry Mesa. I was like, I really want to take it to my uncle's shop and have them pop the hood, take a look at it. And I said, in $3,000 is what I was looking to spend. But come on, like the picker in me was like, but man, I don't know.
Get it for half.
I said, I don't know if I could even
hit you low.
I said, I don't even know if I could put more than like $1,500, And they're like, well, we could definitely do 2,000. I was like, 2,000 cash, and they're like, yeah. I was like, all right, bring it to the shop. We'll get the AOK, see what it is, and we'll go from there. They brought it down from Ramona, popped the hood. Literally only needed at least to get it mobile, like $700. And I had that because it was still under my 3.
Right.
So I gave him 2 G's, and I went down to the DMV. I got it registered. What's funny is I'm pulling through the DMV and people are like giving me the weirdest looks, these dudes gonna live out of this thing, get some dirty kids living out of this bus.
You can live off your car now, so
yo,
that's like
they go back and forth on that law.
Game changer.
You should know that's like one of the days you shouldn't have worn a vintage tee, because now you're just the vintage
you
tee.
I look homeless.
Nirvana.
Yo,
come out of the smoky ass bus.
Real grungy. So then I got the bus registered, and then it needed about $700 worth of work just to the motor. I needed a new thermostat, I needed a new alternator, and I had to put brand new industrial batteries on it because diesel's only got 2 batteries. I'm learning stuff. I never had a diesel car before. I'm like, all right, cool.
I just know it's cheaper gas.
Sometimes, it's cheaper right now because gas is again crazy, but yeah.
This morning.
Yeah, I cried in front of the tank, but. So and that's really what I put in. So I put about $27.50 into the motor. There was about another $300 to get it registered because I had to get it registered commercial because I was going to use it for a business, and the weight was so much on it because it was school.
So now you're $50 over your limit.
I was.
He did everything legal though.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man. If I'm going to do the business, I'm going to do it right. And I'm legit. I got my licenses. I got my permits. We're good.
I'm not a businessman. I'm a business.
Yeah, but that's so important. I think a lot of people who are into selling vintage, or even if they're selling at swap meets and they're selling, whatever it may be, so many people, they don't have the licenses and they don't have the paperwork, and to each their own. But if you want to grow and you want to really be able to track your metrics and see where you're at, to know where you're going, then I think you have to be legit because it gives legitimacy to yourself. Yeah. And again, it's you're gonna sleep better at night because literally, the tax man could come and pull up and be like, we know because you post on Instagram because that's how people sell now. Yeah. You post on Instagram. You've been selling for a year and a half here in City of City. Yo, we need some taxes, and so you're either gonna pay that or pay a fine or So I was like, let me just go legit and. So I feel real good. I got my Chase business card with the name on the card. I feel super official. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So from there though, honestly, sky was the limit.
Well, I knew because it was a small space. It's 17 feet from the front to the back. Most people's beds are bigger. California king bed is bigger than 17 feet. I think.
Is it really?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But my bus looks bigger than it is. My bus fits into an actual one parking spot that you could pull into a Target. It fits in literally no hanging off the front of the back. So
perfect for a swap meet.
Perfect for a swap meet. But when you think about it, it's not a lot of space to work with, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I knew that visually, from a design standpoint, I wanted to keep it as light in there as possible. So I just did the entire inside in just a coat of white, a couple of coats of white actually after it was cleaned. The floor was a mess. There was a couple of spots on the floor where I actually had to patch and do and level the floor. I just did that myself. I literally looked up on YouTube how to level a floor.
Oh, nice.
And
did it have ads this time?
Yeah, YouTube had ads this time. Yeah, the game has changed, man. Yeah, well, yeah, and then the stupid algorithm got me, and I'm getting ads for like Quick Creep and like self leveling. Like, I don't need this, man, you know. But I looked up how to do, you know, the self leveling. I patched the floor, I leveled the floor, and then I picked out the floor. I wanted to do it really, really light gray because I was like, again, just wanted to keep it open and light in there. And I picked a really, really good floor with a good insulation so it wasn't creaking like.
So now you're over your $3,000 budget.
Well, my $3,000 budget was just what I wanted to spend on the purchase of the bus. No, you're good. And so when it came to the inside, I was like, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. You know.
Well, that's your image. Like that's your.
Yeah.
You gotta put money into it to make it look how you want. And it's your storefront, so. Yeah,
and even like to this day, like it's not to where it could be, but I'm like, it's to the point where like, one, you wouldn't know it looks like this on the inside. Mm-hmm. Two, it's still dope in here, and I did a lot of stuff myself. So after the floor was done and installed, which was after the paint went down, then I was like, all right, now I want to build out these racks. So just trying to work with the space that I had, I built out the custom racks literally from Home Depot, pine wood, galvanized pipe, measured, cut all at Home Depot for free.
Before that, did you know how galvanized pipe was that expensive? Did you have an idea?
I did.
Because I know a lot of people like see that on the image and like, oh, that looks dope. You know, I want that as my closet because we don't have much closet room. But then when you go to actually get actual galvanized,
yeah, so
it's pretty bad.
Big thing is like making sure you're buying like because there's two options when you go to Home Depot.
Black.
You get the black and you get the silver, and the silver is crazy expensive. People don't know that, you know. And the black is dirty and it's got crap all over it, but it is a little bit cheaper. And but that's why like knowing how much you need so that way you're not wasting. And also pro tip is using some of the scrap pieces. Pro tip. Making sure you're using like the scrap pieces if you can, if you need to do a smaller. So I had, from my time at Urban Outfitters, I kind of took in as much as I could as far as like visual space planning. And I didn't want it to feel like you were being invaded when you walked into the bus. So from the exterior, like it's a real smooth shopping experience from top to bottom.
The face for it.
Because now it's all making sense.
What?
The dots are connecting here.
The
dots are connecting here.
See, there's a method. I could have worked at a movie theater. Or I could have worked at
a rolling movie theater.
But exactly. No, but I've always been into fashion, and I've always wanted to do a store. And I said, well, if I'm going to do something as far as retail, maybe I should go work for a company that's killing it, and they've been around for a long time. So I went to go work at one of the largest retailers to my demo. That exists, and so I tried to be a sponge, and I didn't have like some management job there. I was just retail, talking to people, getting people like stuff.
I'll do the grunt work because that's what I need to do.
And then when my managers were laying out spaces,
this is all very military. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
Recon, and then infiltration, and then subterfuge.
That's a big word.
This is all very military. All right.
And just using for me, like the biggest value that I have for me, it isn't money, it isn't stuff, it's my time. My time is the most important thing because I'll never get it back.
I agree.
So while I was at work and I saw my boss and my manager laying out new displays or rearranging, things or bringing stuff in from corporate, I'm like, whatever you need me to do, like I'll help you with. And to them, I'm just helping. But for me, I'm taking all these notes like in my brain, like why he did that or why they did that.
Okay, well, because like Backtrack, I mean, this story about it seems like it popped out. You had a dream one day. You woke up out of sleep, and you're just like, I'm gonna do this. But now it sounds like you're really methodical, and you sort of had an idea about something you wanted to do, fashion-wise. Whether it be selling or distributing or anything like that, I mean, like, there's kind of more to it here.
Okay, wait.
There's levels to it.
And what he'll say is, what haven't you done? Once upon a time, while I was active duty,
here we go. Something else you did.
my cousin was in town, or I was on leave, or one of the two. And him and I.
Were you on leave? Were you allowed, or were you like your great grandpa and like just jumped?
Oh no, yeah, no. Like I was allowed to leave. I was home. I was here in San Diego. I was still stationed up in Seattle, and he had just graduated from college in Chicago, and I was like, yo, come live with me in Seattle. Like, live somewhere else other than, we have family in Chicago, and then he's from San Diego. It's the only two places he ever lived. I was like, come live with me in Seattle. Like, it'll be dope. Whatever. If you hate it, you can move. Whatever.
Right.
Experience somewhere else. So while we were there, we had this idea for this brand, and we started our clothing line, which we thought was super cool. It was called Blackstripe, and we just made T-shirts and sweatshirts and hats, and we really like learned what it took to make one garment, and it's more than like what people think. You're wearing Nothing to Lose podcast shirt, and
that was pretty easy though.
Yeah, screen print on that. But if you were going to turn it into a brand, you would need like so many more things. Sample. And so we started that thinking we were going to be the next, like Hundreds or like Diamond Supply Co. or like we're going to be like Zoomies, we're going to be like PacSun, we'll be killing it. And that was like definitely like the goal. I think we lasted for like 2 or 3 years before we're like, all right, we can do something better with our time.
Yeah.
And I don't consider that a failure, but what I took from that was like, yo, if you're actually going to do something, no matter what it be, you should dive into the industry that you're in, and you should go work in it so that way you can actually see what it takes. People see retail stores, or they see a storefront or a restaurant, they see customer buys it and they leave. But everything about, when you walk into an Urban Outfitters is designed to get you to spend more money. And then once you made it up in your brain that you're going to spend money, everything else is designed to get you to spend more money. That's why those little tiny things are by the register. So you can just be, when you're standing in line, because you know you're going to have to wait, do I need this face mist? Do I need this
face mist?
You know what I'm saying? So the way things are placed, are specific and intentional. And for me, the biggest thing I learned in the military was attention to detail.
Right.
And I try to take that with me, even in the business now, and how I've laid out the store, how I place items on racks. You'll see it when you guys come through. You'll be shopping through something, you'll be like, yo, this is like a dope, like vintage Lakers sweatshirt. And then you'll get like 2 more feet, and then you'll stumble across a vintage Lakers hat. Now you thought you came across it on your own. You're like, yo, I can put these two together. But I put it there, that you would self-discover it on your own. And so I really, really enjoy it. Even like my hang tags, like I use old like sports cards, which is nothing new in the vintage world. But what I try to do is I try to take it a step further. If I'm selling an old Bulls piece from the 90s, the tag that's going to be on there is going to be a player from the 90s from the Bulls. So you'll see like little gems like that. I want your experience while you're in there. I want you to feel like you're taken care of.
Even if you're just browsing.
You're just browsing. Because if you don't have money and you're like, oh, this is like out of where I want to spend, you're like, yo, I didn't buy anything, but like, yo, you're into this, you should definitely go check it out. Like, stuff is done nice. So attention to detail is kind of like the biggest thing I've taken away from my career.
Just like the way everything's laid out so far, you're either the luckiest guy in the world for just, agreeing to do what you've done in regards to your life experience, or you're one of the smartest guys in the world.
I think he's taking everything that's thrown his way and just like sponged it and learned from it.
Yeah, I definitely would say luck, man. Like even, my life now, like I think what it is I'm not afraid to try something. Or if I have an idea, something that I want to do, like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I would rather be like 80 years old and completely content with my life because I tried X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And then maybe they failed and maybe they were great, but like I could not live with myself being 75 and being like, man, I could have tried to buy a bus and like put a store in it.
Remember that one time
I should have.
Yo, and so
you are definitely a doer.
Yeah, like that's me. I'm like, let's figure out how to get it done. Like if we're gonna do it, I want to do it well. But let's just like knowing like the information is out there. Like if you want to start a business, if you want to start a podcast, you want to start like I think a lot of times people forget that Google exists and you can literally be like I'm sure people have asked you like maybe on the street like how'd you even get into starting a podcast? Like you didn't know these microphones were out there or what software that you're using. You threw it into Google or you talked to other people. And for me, I think you have a lot of people who operate from the standpoint of like, I don't want to try something because what if it fails and I'm out of money and I'm out of, X, Y, Z, or like people were gonna laugh at me, like, I told you so, you couldn't do that. Yeah. And for me, like, I just don't operate that. I don't operate like that. And even from like my parents, I will say I'm blessed to have parents that support me. Yeah. Because I could imagine it would be a lot tougher if my parents didn't say, sure, like, go ahead, like, try it. Yeah. Because there's a lot of parents that say, no, play safe.
That's stupid.
Get a job.
Wasting your time. Yeah.
Go be X, Y, Z. And for me, you know, I love my parents. And my dad, you know, when he got out of the Navy, he was a barber. He started a barber shop, which exists to this day. Nice. So I grew up watching my parents be entrepreneurs. And so I just loved it being like, you know, it's a Wednesday and it's 2, well, let's go. Or like, want to take vacation? Cool. You can do that when you work for yourself. But if you don't, you're on somebody else's time and someone else's clock.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I really like the way that you laid out that your dad is also a business owner, because I feel like, you know, not success breeds success, but like that mindset of being self-sufficient breeds other mindsets of being self-sufficient, you know? Yeah. And like just being adventurous, risk-taking, because life's a gamble and there's like two hearts. You can,
it's a gamble if you,
it's shitty 9 to 5 and be hard, go out and buy a bus and then.
Yo, but you can do it, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, a lot of it is like, what do you, if you're content at your 9 to 5 and you're living your best life?
No.
Well, that's where it's tough. But like, I know a lot of people like who work, you know, 12 jobs, but they love what they do, and that's the key. Like for me, I wouldn't be happy being in a cubicle, and for me, my mental health state is way more important than my pocketbook. I could, with the experience that I have, I've had interviews with the FBI and TSA, training them for Homeland Security, but like, I'm like, I just know I can't do that for 20 years. And working for myself and having the option to do what I want. And my day is like, I feel like my days are like the best. Like I wake up, like 7 o'clock, man. I go, I get a cup of coffee.
Folgers in your cup.
Latte with some oat milk. And then, you know, I send emails. I create stuff for social that I'm going to post for the day or whatever. And then, you know, I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Goodwill's open, Salvation Army's open, Exchange's open. So I just started hitting the thrifts, like, you know, because they're bringing out brand new stuff that's like just got put out, and like that's like the dream, like that's what you get to do. Now I'm working my butt off, you know, it's like I say, I'd rather work, you know, I work 5 to 9 and not have a 9 to 5, but like I'm like in charge of my day, and it's hard work, and it's, you know, a lot of work, and there's a lot of things I have to do on my end, but like again. For me, for like my happiness meter, it's like being able to do that.
Check this out too. I'm pretty sure that you're the only one currently who works for Backtrack SD.
Yeah, one of one.
So your entire business model really is like almost self-sufficient. Like you don't have a staff. You don't have to pay anybody's salary. Like you just take care of you. Whatever you make, you do. You know, and it's just like,
yeah,
I feel like that's smart, perfect. You're doing it right.
Yeah, and you know, and it's having the discipline too, because a lot of people, you know, whether they have a regular job and they have a side hustle, right. You start mixing money, right? You sold, you know, clothes, or you sold whatever you sold, and you're like, it's so easy to take that $200 that you made in a couple of hours, and you're like, this is mine now. Mm-hmm. But like the way I have everything structured, I'm like, it's not mine, it's the business, and I can let's do the math a month from now and say, what can I actually take out of the business to where the business still made a profit, I paid myself a little something, if anything at all, and can continue to let me buy inventory, travel where I need to go to buy inventory, and making sure we have enough events on the schedule to where we're out making money. I mean, the bus works getting it in front of as many people as possible, which is nice. I can't move my retail store from, you know, La Mesa to, you know, college area. Right. But if there's an event going back to school for college at SDSU or UCSD and they want vendors, you know, I'm there, you know? So.
Hell yeah. Make yourself available.
See how it goes.
I like that.
This is really interesting to watch. I like this because, like, you know, we have people that made it or like are already there. And we're gonna have Eric.
Yeah, this thing could suck. Like,
we can go back and be like, Eric, so now what are you doing? Well, I'm back to the Polaroid.
I'm living in the bus. But yeah,
I'm now liquidating everything, so if you know any.
Fire sale. No, that's what's crazy. You know, it's like, I feel really, really blessed and humbled again that you guys had me on. But even, you know, like I said, Pacific Magazine did a little story, and I'm like, yo, like, I haven't even opened the doors on the bus yet. And so, like,
people like that idea, though. Like,
it's something new. Like, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's new, it's specialized, but it's not, like, so specialized where, you know, I'm sure anybody who even walks in the door, regardless of age or background or anything, can probably find something and be like, that's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, buy something or you're going to tell somebody about it.
Buy something, word of mouth.
What's interesting is I've sold, as far as vintage clothes goes, I've sold to a girl as young as 12, and I've sold to a guy as old as in his early 60s who, like, saw a piece that, like, a vintage polo bear piece that I had. He literally, I mean, it was probably one of the most expensive items I had in the booth. It was like $65. And he just picked it up, didn't ask me any questions, and he pulled out $65 and he just gave it. Like, because the pieces that I have, you know, they, for the older people, it sparks something, right? It's like instant nostalgia. But then for, like, younger people that I have, like, they're into vintage now.
Yeah.
And so I get to interact with them and talk to them and teach them how to style, like, vintage pieces with what they're wearing now.
You got the best of both worlds.
Victoria says he's the smartest guy in the world. I think that's when I said you're either the luckiest or the smartest.
Yeah, because she knows, man, like, luck is nothing, like, this could easily go bad. Having the buzz has been great, but also, like, I was, you know,